And welcome to this episode of The Patrick Show for the week of November 6th. It has been one hell of a week, so let's get to it. In most recent news, today, the 11th, Nintendo has released their NES Classic Edition, and it proceeded to get sold out within seconds. I know Amazon was sold out pretty much, I think, in under a minute. Many stores that were carrying it sold out very quickly. It appears that Nintendo just misjudged the demand for their re-release of the NES, so they're working to try and catch up with that demand, and it shouldn't be too much of an issue. In other parts of the country, so you remember a couple months ago, everyone was making a big deal about Flint, Michigan not having any potable water because it had severe lead poisoning and all that. Yeah, well, that's still a fucking issue apparently. Nothing has really been done. Everyone's been basically trying to just cope with bottled water, but a federal judge just mandated a few days ago that they've ordered state and local governments to provide home delivery of bottled water until they can basically figure their shit out and get this problem solved. Honestly, in my opinion, it's pretty damn ridiculous this is still happening. But, at least it appears that there's some, forced action now. So we'll see how that turns out. Hopefully that federal mandate will put this a little back into the spotlight. Moving to the other side of the country, another water-related issue. The Southeast is experiencing some very serious drought conditions right now. 40% of the Southeast is under moderate to exceptional drought conditions, the worst of which being in northern Alabama and Georgia, with some sections of the Carolinas as well being very severe drought. Some areas haven't gotten rain in almost 6 weeks, which is causing a lot of water shortages and really starting to threaten crops. At this point it's getting to California levels. They've been dealing with a catastrophic and very long-term drought since the summer, and so it's getting to that levels in the Southeast. So hopefully things get fixed with that and handled. So we'll see what happens with that. So, if you haven't heard, America had an election this week. The presidential election was on the 8th of November. So, if you haven't heard, Donald Trump was elected to be the next president of the United States. Now, before I get into that, there were some other ballot measures that were voted on across the United States. Some of the more interesting ones, recreational marijuana has now been legalized in Maine, Massachusetts, and Nevada, and California, making that to a total of 7 states that have legalized recreational marijuana. Fully unrestricted medicinal marijuana has also been legalized in Montana, North Dakota, Arkansas, and Florida, leading that to a total of 28 states with medicinal marijuana without limitations. Washington, Nevada, and California also passed measures that slightly increased gun purchasing restrictions, but it's more of a focus on preventing people with mental illness from buying guns and increased background checks. If you want more information on those particularly, there's a link in the tab below that'll give you a little more information on that. Moving on to the meat of the election. So Donald Trump was elected president, much to everyone's surprise. I think pretty much everyone, jaws to the floor, that was very surprised. A lot of the polls were walking into the 8th were showing Clinton just barely edging out. A lot of the opinion polls, everything seemed to point towards a Clinton win. And then that didn't happen. So currently right now, there's a 92% of all the votes have been counted. They haven't quite counted all the mail-in ballots for Michigan and New Hampshire yet, but at this point, those aren't really going to change much. So Trump won in the Electoral College by 62 votes at the current count. The interesting part about this is that he didn't win, well, at current count, he is not winning the popular vote. Hillary Clinton is currently winning the popular vote by about 200,000 votes, which makes this election a bit of an anomaly, more so than it already is. So, historically, presidents tend to generally win the popular vote as well as the electoral, like the winning in the Electoral College. But this didn't happen in this case, and most recently, this actually did happen in 2000 with, well, as far as a Democrat winning in the popular vote and a Republican winning in the Electoral College. This happened in 2000 with George W. Bush and Al Gore. Al Gore lost the Electoral College, but won in the popular vote. That was kind of a weird election, though, too. Historically, though, if you look farther back, this has actually only happened previous to this election, including the Al Gore election, the George Bush election. This has only happened 4 other times in history, and we pretty much went all of the 1900s without this really happening. So, you know, if we're talking, the last time this happened was like Rutherford B. Hayes, I think, and Andrew Jackson. I'm not quite sure, but it's been, you know, it's been a very long time since this has happened, adding more significance to the fact that that, you know, there was such a disparity in the votes. I don't know, it's going to be interesting having Donald Trump as president, to say the least. Already he's put out like his information on his first 100 days. He's already put out information on cabinet member appointments. At the very least, we're definitely going to see a more active American government, since also, to surprise to everyone, basically, the Republicans also got control of the of Senate, and so now it is a red Congress and a red presidency. So we're also probably going to see a Republican or a right-wing leaning Supreme Court justice appointment as well. So it's going to be interesting walking into the next, well, 6 months, let alone 4 years. So, I mean, I'm not here to pass judgment, but we'll definitely see what happens. And no matter what happens, you'll definitely see me talking about it right here. For more information on anything that I've spoken about across this video, you can see the extra links for information below. And I will see you next week.